At a roadside convenience store, a child fails to pick up a stuffed animal from a claw machine. Nick walks by on crutches, he sees the child's various failed attempts and asks him which stuffed animal he wants. Nick takes a marker and draws an entire diagram on the glass wall of the machine, explaining how to get it. He also gives the kid $1 to say hello and wish him good luck. Nick, his girlfriend Haley, and their friend Jonah are on a cross-country trip from Massachusetts to California. They are MIT students, but since Haley is going on an exchange to another university for a year, the boys decide to accompany her. They visit many interesting places and have a lot of fun. During the night, Nick wakes up and receives a strange message from a mysterious contact. Nomad wakes up his friend and tells him that their mysterious acquaintance has returned. They take the laptop and go to the bathroom. The friends write to Nomad, who ruined them when he hacked the MIT server. They risk expulsion for doing so. Nomad teases them, pointing out that MIT is an institution for children. Nick tells them to be careful because they will find out his identity. They receive a link and when they open it, they see a picture of themselves in the bedroom. They realize that the image is transmitted from the webcam on Haley's laptop, which is asleep. They connect through Linux and try to get a connection. Jonah gives Nick the addresses of the servers they need and they determine that the coordinates they need are in the state of Nevada. Then Haley catches the boys off guard and reminds them that they have to leave in the morning. On the way, Jonah's laptop gets a new picture of Haley's car from a traffic camera. He hands the laptop to Nick, who is impressed by her nemesis. Haley notices a picture of her car on the screen and starts to worry. In a small shop at the gas station, the boys discuss the situation. Nick wants to listen to Haley's advice, but Jonah insists on finishing what they started, partly because Nevada is so close. Nick goes to get coffee, leaving Haley and Jonah alone. The girl asks him about Nick's thoughts on his move, since she feels he is moving away. Jonah tells her that it is not easy for Nick and advises her to make things right between them. As Nick leaves the shop, he falls and spills his coffee. But Nick says he is fine and can take the coffee. Haley goes with Nick and offers to help. The boy abruptly tells her that she does not have to worry about him anymore. Haley gets angry and decides to take some time alone. Nick joins her and apologizes. He tells her that the disease is progressing rapidly and that she will soon be in a wheelchair. But he does not want to be a burden or for her to be with him just out of pity. Then she starts to cry, takes off the necklace Nick gave her and throws it into the abyss. However, the boys think that Haley should not go with them, so they decide to go with her first. But the girl tells them that she wants to go with them because she wants to meet him. At night, they arrive at an abandoned house in the middle of the desert. After some hesitation, the boys enter the house, but tell Haley to stay in the car. When they realize the house is empty, they relax and joke around for a while. In the basement, they find server racks covered in dust. Then they hear Haley screaming and run to help her. The boys get into the car and see that the doors are open and the radio is randomly changing frequencies. Suddenly he sees her, but she flies through the air and disappears into the darkness. Then strange lights appear and the boys run in their direction. Nick regains consciousness and sees people in fireproof suits around him. He is taken in a wheelchair to an office. There he is examined by a doctor, Wallace Damon, the head of the rescue team. Nick introduces himself as Nicholas Eastman and asks where he is. The doctor replies that they need to understand the situation and asks him when they first received the signal. Nick does not understand what signal he is talking about and asks why he cannot move and what has happened to them. Dr. Damon says that they have been in contact with EBE, an alien biological entity. Nick asks to call his parents and take him to Haley and Jonah, but Wallace says that is impossible. Nick then gets a nosebleed, but the doctor assures him that he is fine. When Nick is left alone in the ward, he notices a strange tattoo on his wrist that looks like some kind of code. He realizes that he has ended up in an underground research center where he is being watched and even the light outside the window is fake. As Nick is led down the corridor, he sees that many rooms are being cleaned of the results of various experiments. Suddenly he sees Haley sleeping on the bed in one of the wards. Nick begs the staff to let him talk to his friend, but he is taken to Dr. Damon. Nick asks the doctor to talk to Haley, but he tells him that he cannot. The doctor asks the boy some questions, like how many fingers he is holding up and if he is an earthling, but then asks him again about the signal. Nick asks him if he is talking about Nomad's signal and the doctor says yes. He then replies that he first got it at MIT when he hacked some important servers. The doctor's assistant brings in a TV and Wallace interrupts Nick's story to show him something. He puts on a video of him and Jonah walking through the abandoned house when one of the frames shows an alien face hidden in the leaves of the trees. Nick is speechless, and the doctor adds that it was not a hacker. Nick is alone again when he suddenly hears Jonah's voice from the vent telling him that he is locked up somewhere. The boy also says that he is not feeling well and is in a hurry to go somewhere. During the next session, the doctor forces Nick to undergo simple tests to determine shapes, colors, and compatibility. The boy resents the exercises because they are below his intellectual level. He is also surprised that he has only seen one clock and that it always shows 1:30. Wallace replies that the clock is broken and tells him that the reason he does not want to do the exercises is not because he is smart, but because he is stupid and stubborn. Then the boy asks to see Haley or he will say nothing more. He explains that he cannot talk to Haley because she is in a coma. Nick cleverly tinkers with medical tubing, which allows him to discover the lock code in the hallway through fingerprints. He then talks to Jonah again, who tells him that they might have been infected by something. Nick, however, thinks they are fine. But Jonah points out that there is something wrong with his body and tells him to leave as soon as possible. The center's staff is conducting a strange experiment with a cow and a mysterious creature. The experiment gets out of control, and taking advantage of the chaos, Nick tries to hide in the bathroom. But the staff find him and bring him back to the hallway, where he sees horrible scratches on the walls. When he talks to the doctor, Nick asks him what happened in the hallway and what they are doing to Jonah. The boy suspects that the center is testing some outdated World War II grants that are irrelevant today, but they pretend to be doing something important. Nick then promises that once they get out of there, they will do everything they can to ruin their reputation. After listening to Nick's monologue, the doctor tells him that his friend Jonah was never there. The boy tells him to stop lying because he is talking to him through the vent. But Wallace makes him doubt that it is really Jonah, since he only heard a voice. Nick finally decides to do something about it and works out a detailed escape plan during the night. The doctor does not find the boy, but finds his ingenious plan under the mattress. Meanwhile, Nick kidnaps Haley and tries to sneak in among the employees. But when he reaches the exit and tries to enter the code, he is caught. Suddenly, Nick wakes up to Haley calling him in a soft voice. They try to hold hands, but one of the health workers separates them. The weakened girl says that she feels better and that she dreamed that Nick won a competition. Then she falls asleep and Nick fights the nurses who try to hold him. Nick falls out of bed and the nurses leave the ward. Lying on the floor, Nick discovers that instead of legs, he now has some kind of high-tech prosthesis. He begins to panic. Dr. Damon, watching him through the glass, tells him to calm down. But the boy breaks down the front door and takes Haley with him. He then uses his new power to destroy obstacles in his path. The doctor reaches Nick and advises him not to leave because he will not be able to protect him outside the station. But Nick does not trust him and heads for the underground tunnels that he and Haley use to get out. They are walking through the desert when they see a car with a strange woman who sees angels everywhere. Nick tries to call someone, but the phone doesn't work. Then he sees a report on TV about two infected patients, Nicholas Eastman and Haley Peterson, who have disappeared from the research station. Nick sees Haley get into a truck and drive away. The boy runs out of the bar and does his best to catch up. He reaches the truck and climbs in, but the driver hits him with the door and throws him onto the road. Nick gets up and runs after the truck again. The driver tries to grab his gun, but Haley stops him. Nick and Haley leave the driver on the side of the road. Nick and Haley continue their journey through the desert, but are forced to stop when they see a huge ditch. Meanwhile, the search party led by Dr. Damon tries to follow in the fugitive's footsteps and finds the strange old woman. Wallace questions the woman, but she suddenly rises into the air and discovers that she is not human. Nick and Haley go to an abandoned tourist center. There they find a map of the area, but it confuses them. Eventually they decide to stay there for the night. Nick and Haley encounter Jonah in a fireproof suit. The team, led by Damon, goes to the truck driver's house. The doctor tries to ask the man some questions, but he tells him to leave. The man is unable to answer any of Wallace's questions about the house, so Damon kills the stupid android. He sees a strange metal implant protruding from one of her vertebrae and a tattoo with a number similar to his own. Jonah explains to Nick that it is not a code for a specific person, but for the area in general. He believes they are in Area 51 because the numbers 2, 3, 5, 41 add up to 51. According to him, everything around them is a simulation. Even the things and goods in the store are fake. Experiments are being done on them, like on mice. So Jonah reveals to Nick that instead of arms, he has cybernetic prosthetics similar to his legs. And when morning comes, they follow the only road that can lead them to civilization. On the way, they encounter a roadblock, and Nick and Haley hide in the trunk of a truck. Dressed in a fireproof suit, Jonah pretends to be an employee and tries to explain to security that he has permission to leave. But the guards are suspicious of him and order him to get out of the car. Jonah accelerates, but the truck is blocked by concrete blocks. To distract his friends, Jonah runs out of the car and heads to the guard house. There he finds a laptop and tries to disable the blocks that are preventing the truck from moving. Severely wounded, Jonah regains consciousness and tries to reach the truck. But he is shot as he runs towards the truck. Nick tries to help him, but Jonah tells him to leave. After some thought, Nick listens as Jonah distracts the enemies. He crushes the concrete blocks with his hands, allowing Nick and Haley to escape. Jonah is surrounded by soldiers, but decides to hit the ground, causing shockwaves that destroy everything around him. After some time on the road, they encounter a blockade of police cars driven by Damon and a group of special forces. Nick decides to break through the blockade and tells Haley to buckle up. They then throw spikes under his wheels, which eventually overturns. In the accident, Nick remembers that he and Haley had much more fun driving. The girl confesses her love to Nick as a helicopter approaches and takes her away. The boy stays on the street and watches the helicopter that captured Haley. Damon tells him to forget about her. The doctor tells him to focus on himself because he is their best combination of human and alien technology. Nick then focuses on Damon's badge, which is Nomad spelled backwards. He realizes that the doctor is the mysterious hacker. Wallace admits that he is the one who put him there, but it was Nick who wanted to find him. Nick then thinks back to some motivating moments with Haley. Then he gets angry, his legs fill with energy and he takes off, destroying everything he comes across. Suddenly he breaks through an invisible virtual screen that mimics the landscape. Damon reaches behind it and removes his protective mask. Behind what appears to be a human face, they are hiding a bunch of wires and their supernatural origin. Nick finally realizes that he is on an alien ship and everything around him is just an imitation of Earth. In the engineering room he sees the familiar numbers 2, 3, 5, 41 as a huge spaceship moves through the infinite universe. If you liked the video, leave a like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.